Hello, everyone. This is Gail from Gail's Upstairs Studio. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm finally getting a chance to shoot the video that I've been working on for a little bit. You have seen both of these products unboxed on this channel earlier in the year. This is the Mungyo Watercolor Crayon set of 36, and this is the CaranD'ache Neo Color 2 set of 30. They are both watercolor crayons. There's quite a big difference in price, and I thought it might be a good idea to compare them to see if one is preferred by me over the other. Now, in full disclosure, this is from layman's terms, really, because this is just something I am exploring myself. I had never tried these before this spring, and I bought these first, and then I decided to try these too. So we're going to do some comparing and contrasting and exploring together as to what these can do. First of all, we'll open them up and take a look. I really like the fact that they both come in tins. Pardon the light there on the box. I do like that because it's automatic storage. Didn't have to figure out how to store them. This Mungyo set came with a swatch card that I swatched out when I got it. And there are 36 colors in the tin. And the top of the tin is a little messy because I've actually used that for mixing, and we're going to be doing that today as well. And this is my CaranD'ache set of 30. It also is very nicely done in a tin. I'm going to set that right there for now. I'm also going to show you, I did buy some CaranD'ache open stock first in a local art shop. That I didn't quite want to spend a lot of money on a whole set when I already had a set of watercolor crayons until I tried them open stock. Now, right off the bat, there's one difference I want to talk about. The Mungyo crayons, they all have papers around them, the CaranD'ache too. And the thing about the Mungyo ones is it's all one piece of paper, which is fine, but they're kind of loose on there. And I guess it depends on how you want to use them. That might actually be a plus for you, to be able to just slide out and break a piece off if you want. But using them with the wrapper on, you do have to kind of have a very good hold on the paper so that it's not sliding around on you when you're actually drawing with it. So that's one difference. And the CaranD'ache Neo Color 2s, the paper is on there a lot better. You can't move it. And on the side here, I'm going to turn it around. On the side here, you see these arrows. And what I'm not sure you can see on camera is they're actually these little tabs, and you can pull on one and it will just rip off one section so that you can peel it back as you've used the end. And for me, I like that, but I can actually see how some people might like being able to just break off and put the paper back on as a whole. But for me, I do like the peel off tabs there. So that is what the first differences are. And another difference I want to show you before I sit down and start doing some things is there is a little on this one actually. The CaranD'ache is pretty much ready to go out of the box. You can start right coloring with it. There is a little tiny bit of a white film there. But and I've left some on here. The Mungyo, and I don't know if that comes up on camera, there is a definite white film. You can see the tip is dark because I've used it, but the sides have a very prominent waxy film on it. The only thing you have to do, however, is to take, or how I do it, is I took a paper towel and I put it around the crayon and I just twisted it. And it gets that film right off. You can see that it's dirtied up the paper towel a little bit and it's ready to go. So it's not that big of a deal, but it is a difference. Now for the swatch sheets that I've already done. I actually had previously swatched these out individually when I bought them in a couple of different swatch books, but I decided for this video, I wanted to swatch them the same way on the same exact paper. So I used Be Creative mixed media paper, and when I swatched them, I colored the square all the way down and then all the way back up for each crayon in each set. And then I used a watercolor brush and water, and I wet half of the square so that you could see the payout with water. And I did it the same exact way for both brands. I thought that was important because before I swatched my CaranD'ache in a swatch book that was one kind of paper, and I swatched the Mungyo in a different book. So, and I wasn't quite sure if it was the same paper or not. So I'm going to compare apples to apples as best we can here. So these are the swatches, and you can see both brands have very good payout with water. They're very vibrant, very nice colors. And for the most part, both brands dissolve the crayon marks with water almost completely. There's a couple of exceptions here, especially on the Mungyo side. My ultramarine blue, I didn't quite get all of the crayon marks gone. This blue also, and this green. But for the most part, they melt down very, very nicely with water. And the CaranD'ache does that even better. I'm going to set these aside. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the price I paid for each. And this is going to be probably the most important thing for a lot of people. Now, I bought the Mungyo set on Amazon, and I don't remember how much I paid for it at the time, but it is listed on Amazon today as the filming of this. It is the week before Thanksgiving for $27.99 for the set of 36. The Neocolor 2s, they do have them on Amazon, but I bought mine from Blick. And I paid I paid for the set of 30, $48.41. And the nice thing too about Neocolor 2s is you can buy them open stock, which I haven't found an option for that with Mungyo. And I bought these in a local shop for $2.50 a piece, but on Blick right now they're $2 a piece. And so that is something to consider. I also wanted to mention that looking on Blick, I actually found other options, inexpensive options to try. And I don't have, oh, I do. I have written down some prices here. They have some Lyra Aquacolor crayons for a set of 12 for $19.49 up to a set of 48 for $78.20. The Faber-Castell, they have a set of 15 for $11.22. And believe it or not, Crayola has a set of water-soluble crayons, a set of 12 for $9.44. So there's all kinds of different options, price options and things that if you don't want to spend a lot of money for this set yet, but you want to try it, there are a lot of more inexpensive options. Now, if you watch our YouTube channels at all, you've heard of these. Not sure that you would have heard of these. That's why I kind of wanted to compare and talk about them a little bit. Another difference between these two is the color range. This is the biggest set I could find of the Mungyo brand. So I'm assuming that this is their full range. They do have smaller sets that have, I believe, just smaller selections of this range here. The CaranD'ache has quite a few more. In the CaranD'ache Neo Color 2 line, the largest set you can buy is 84, so I assume that that is their full range. And like I said, you also have the opportunity to buy them open stock, which means that you could buy a smaller set. And as you go along, if you wanted to add to that, you can buy them one at a time. So that's another difference. And now we're going to get to playing around with them a little and seeing what they can do. Okay, I have another piece of the Be Creative mixed media paper. And I'm going to start by just, I have 3 different colors here. I have an orange from Mungyo and an orange from CaranD'ache, Prussian blue from each line, and I have light olive from CaranD'ache and olive from Mungyo. And I just tried to pick colors that were close enough together. Their range is a little different, so from one another, but I tried to get as close as I could. And I have a paper towel here and some water and just a very inexpensive watercolor brush. And I'm going to, I had some green in that. I'm going to clean that out. And first things first, I think I'll use the blue because that's going to show up the best, I think. And we are going to just do a swatch of each so you can see how nicely they activate in water. So I'm going to just write Mungyo here and CaranD'ache. And I will start by just laying down some color. This is another difference that I want to talk about, and it's one that you're not going to be able to see, but you can definitely feel the difference. And that is the feel. I'm going to tell you right now that you can get pretty much the same result from each. The Mungyo feels a little harder and scratchier, and the CaranD'ache really feels like butter going down. I don't think you can see the difference in the results. It's just a feeling thing. We're going to start by wetting the Mungyo. And we're just going to try to dissolve. And these are the colors where you can still kind of see the marks too. But you can, well, that one's working quite well. The first time you use watercolor crayons, if you haven't before, that's kind of a magical thing, is you lay it down and you have an expectation of what it's going to look like when you add water. And most of the time, it just surprises you. The difference between wet and dry. It's a beautiful difference. And as you can see, the result is pretty much the same. So that's how they dilute when you lay them down straight to the paper and go over them with water. The next thing I wanted to show you is another technique you can use. And we're going to, let me write a line between the two here. There. I actually smudged the side with my finger. Okay. Next, I want to show you another technique, and we'll start with the Mungyo. And I haven't done this a lot, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to work. I have made sure all that waxy buildup on the side is gone. And I am taking a wet brush right to the crayon, and we're going to apply it right to the paper that way. I tried this when I first got them, but they still had that waxy layer on the outside, and once I worked that off, this is the result you get. It's very nice, and I'm just going to roll it on my paper towel to get the excess off right now. And now I'll move over to the Neocolor 2 side. Make sure I have the right one. I'm using Prussian blue from both sets on this little spot here. All right. And that lays down very nicely also. Now I am going to get a yellow from both sets. I forgot to do that. So okay, I have gotten a yellow from both sets because I want to show you how to mix. Another thing I wanted to mention also about both sets is the colors are written on the crayon in both sets. On the CaranD'ache side, it's written in several different languages, and English is on the bottom. But they do have them written on every crayon, which is wonderful. Now we're going to start with the Mungyo. And I'm going to just go ahead and use the Prussian blue that I already have taken out. We're going to mix a green. And this is where I use the cover to my Mungyo set to mix with. Now you can buy, CaranD'ache actually sells a little palette that has a rough texture that you can use to mix, but I don't have one of those, and I find this works okay, so we're just going to do this for today. And I am going to lay down some Prussian blue. I'm going to bring this over here out of the glare. There we go. And I'm going to lay down their yellow. Now, like I said, these colors are kind of different from set to set. So they're not going to be the same exact green probably laying down, but I just wanted to show you how that works. And then I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to activate the blue and bring it over to the yellow. This isn't a very good green, but I believe it was my choices that I made. So we're going to just mix some more. And add it in. Still not happy with that, and that happens. So we're actually going to get a different blue. Hang on just a minute. I'm going to get the cobalt blue from each set and try that. And here we are. I'm going to lay down the cobalt blue from Mungyo. And what their yellow is. Pick up water on my paintbrush and activate the two. I'm going to need a little more yellow. There we go. There's a nice light green. Grab some more. And you can also, at this point, if you wanted to, go in and get some right off the crayon and add to it if you don't want to continue to scratch the surface. All right. Not getting a huge payout here, but we're going to try it anyway. So this is how you mix them together to make a different color. And that is quite a weak mix, but it shows how you do it anyway. And then we'll do the same with the CaranD'ache. And this might get a little bit more of a green, a better green, only because their yellow is a little brighter and this blue laid down a lot better. So I believe, I'm not going to talk ahead here. Let's lay this down first and then we'll go from there, activating the yellow and adding in the blue, and it is mixing a lot better. I'm going to go ahead and mix the whole thing, but I'm going to add, I got it a little too blue. There we go. The nice green. It's going to be weak too because I didn't, neither one, I didn't mix a lot of color from either one. And that did mix a little easier. And it laid down, because it lays down so buttery. Like I said, the biggest difference besides the price in the two brands isn't anything you can see. It's how it feels. And as you can see, so far, I'm getting about the same result with everything that I'm doing here. Okay, so we have seen how both brands work on mixed media paper. So I thought it might be a good idea to test these both brands out on other kinds of paper. I have a sheet of Bristol paper here, and it's very, very, very smooth. I have a piece of cold press watercolor paper. Now, to be honest, this is cold press. It is by Fluid 100% cotton paper. It is softer than Arch's cold press paper. I didn't think a rough surface would work very well for my purposes for either one. So, and then I have a piece of hot press watercolor paper. And then I have a piece of regular craft cardstock that I wanted to try both whites on. So let's see what we can come up with for this. We are going to use our greens for this one. And this is our Mungyo one. And we're just going to, let's see, which surface are we on first? We are on Bristol. We're going to just do a leaf. And we'll go ahead and do our CaranD'ache at the same time. Once again, you cannot see the difference. The feeling is very different from one another though. And we'll just activate that. Remember, this isn't watercolor paper, it is Bristol. And I want to see how much of the crayon mark we can dissolve. You can still see a little because Bristol paper is so smooth that it just doesn't move it quite as easily. But both sides have done pretty well on that. And now we are going to use our hot press watercolor paper. We're going to do the same thing. Here's the Mungyo. You can feel the difference of switching over to watercolor paper almost immediately. There's more tooth to it. Even though it is hot press and it's smoother than cold press, you can still definitely feel the difference between this and the Bristol paper. And you're still seeing some of the crayon marks through that so far. But you are on the CaranD'ache side as well. And I'm assuming that you will probably see even more when we get to the cold press. Because if you can think of paper being porous, when you get to textured paper, there's more nooks and crannies for the crayon to sink down into. However, that's still a pretty good result on both sides. Now we're going to go to our cold press. And I'd be surprised if we can completely disappear the crayon marks on this side, on this paper. You can see a lot more texture even laying down the crayon on this paper. And now we'll go over to the CaranD'ache side. The green that I'm using from the CaranD'ache side is their light olive. And the Mungyo side, I believe, is listed as just olive, yes. But they're pretty similar. And we are going to activate the Mungyo side. And yes, you can still see texture there. Honestly, not as much as I thought, however. Let's see the CaranD'ache side. That smooths it a little bit more quickly, but let's see if we can get to that with this, with the Mungyo side, just by adding more water and working at it a little bit more. Yeah, we're able to lift up more as we go. So I would say you can get the same result from Mungyo as you do CaranD'ache on this cold press paper. It's just going to take a little bit more effort, that's all. Okay, here's that test done. I almost forgot about my craft paper test with the white. Okay, so we're going to do this just swatch style. I want to see how bright they are in crayon form here. I'm coming all the way down and going all the way up like I did on my swatches. And this is the CaranD'ache side. Yes, the CaranD'ache crayons are definitely softer. I guess that is something I can definitely say for sure. Now I'm going to come in from the side, start right down the middle here, and just pull off to the right to see how much of a payoff we get. That's the Mungyo side. And now we'll do the CaranD'ache side. Same way, right down the middle. I think this white test really kind of shows the difference. You definitely get a little bit more payoff on the CaranD'ache side with the white. But other than that, guys, it's been pretty comparable. Like I said, the feel is different. But other than this test here, I would say they are comparable all the way across the board to one another. Then one other thing I want to do, and I'm going to go back to the mixed media paper for this, because honestly, out of all of these things, the mixed media paper and in my mixed media journal is how I'm going to probably use these most. So I'm back to this test page. This is the mixed media paper. And I'm going to go back to that Prussian blue from both sets because that is a nice, dark, deep. And I actually don't think I need to lay down any more color to do what I want to do because this is already dry. And I would like to see how they are in a mixed media capacity. I have two things here. I have a Sharpie Creative marker, so an acrylic paint marker, and I have a Uniball Sigma broad-tipped gel pen. I haven't used this in a while, so I need to make sure it's working properly, and it is. And we have the Mungyo side and the CaranD'ache side. And I just want to see how we can maybe add things over the top. They're both completely dry. This is the Sharpie Creative marker. We're just going to make a mark here. I'm going to make it a little thicker. And I'm going to dab it off because it does pick up on the Mungyo side anyway, and I'm pretty sure it will on the CaranD'ache side too. Picks up a little bit of the crayon. And now we're going to go the CaranD'ache side. And that does pick up a little there too. So I'm just going to wipe that off and cap it. And we're just going to see how white that might stay. And then we'll come down here and do the same thing with my Uniball Sigma pen. I'll just draw a leaf. And I actually wondered if this was going to be the case because there is a little bit of a wax binder, of course, in the crayons. That doesn't look as if that is going to work. You can see it a little, but it's scratching into it more than anything else. I just want to make sure it's working good. Yep. We will go over to the CaranD'ache side. It shows up more, but it's still scratchy. Okay. I am going to try. I have a jelly roll pen that I'll try too, but I'm pretty sure it'll be about the same result. I have a jelly roll size 10, and it's basically the same thing as this one, but I'm just going to try it just to see. This one is not scratching as much going down. And we'll test it on the CaranD'ache side too. It is not scratching as much, but it also isn't staying stark white like the Signa did. And I just wanted to see. I'm not quite sure what size this one is, but it just says broad, but it is the same pretty much. Actually, the jelly roll's a little smaller tip. So there's that test. And if we look back up here to our Sharpie Creative Marker test, that has dried and it hasn't really changed much. We're going to see if we can layer on top of that and make it even whiter. And we can. And it's not. So that means that the Creative Marker is not lifting up off the crayon in the first layer, so you're able to layer up on top of that. So you could get a more vibrant look if you wanted to. I don't know if this video is all that interesting to everyone, but I think it might be interesting to some as we're getting ready to wrap up a little bit here. I have one more thing to show. This is my mixed media sketchbook, and I did this actually, more than a month ago. This is a full spread. However, it is done with both sets. This side is Mungyo, this side is Neocolor 2. With comparable colors, not exactly the same because the ranges are a little different, but you can get results from both sets, from both brands. You can get pretty comparable results. Might have to work a little harder in places with the Mungyo, but you can get the same results. This is the same exact paper. And I think that this kind of leads you to the conclusion that I have made. And that is that the CaranD'ache Neocolor 2s are absolutely beautiful to use. They are smooth, they are light, and they are shaped. They're just like a crayon, and they're wonderful. They have a lot of attributes. The fact that you can peel down the paper, the fact that they go down like butter, they're beautiful. However, if you can't quite afford them at this point, but you really want to give watercolor crayons a try, you can get pretty much the same results with the less expensive option. Like I said, there are some things that make this so that it's not as enjoyable to use. They're a little scratchier. The papers aren't on there quite as nicely. You do have to prep the surface with a paper towel to get the waxy residue off the outside. You do have to do that with some of the CaranD'ache ones, but not all of them, and not a lot. So it's kind of like a choice in a car. This will get you there. This will get you there a little bit more pleasantly. That's really honestly the difference. So if you're starting out, and this is how I started out. I bought the Mungyo set. I liked it, but I was very curious about the Neocolor 2s. So I got a few open stock, and then I could really feel the difference between this and the Mungyo, and that led me to buying the big set of Neocolor 2s. So in conclusion, I don't think you can go wrong either way. if you're gifting this to somebody for Christmas, I would probably have spent the money for this as a gift quicker than I would have if it were just for me and if I didn't already have a set. But if you're trying to be budget conscious or you're buying it as a gift for somebody who's never tried it and you have no idea if they're going to like it or not, this is a perfectly good option. And I'm happy with both sets. I can have uses for both sets. So that is what I have discovered, and I'm continuing to discover. I really like using these. And I'm kind of getting more and more into mixed media. So that is why I wanted to do some testing and figuring out if things could layer on top and things of that nature. Well, I hope this was interesting to some of you anyway, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a good week, and I will see you next time.